Hi, everyone. This is Randy Weir, author R. Weir here. Glad you hopefully get a chance to join us tonight and watch. We got exciting guests. We're going to get her right on here. We got to spend some time, a little bit of time in Nashville at the event, so I'm going to bring her up here. But we've got New York Times, USA bestseller, award winner, JT Ellison. Hi,
Hello,
JT.
hello. Hello, hello. How are you?
And I see a lot of books behind you.
So
Are,
many books. So,
and
yeah, I'm
are all
this is
those
my
your books? I know you've written quite a few.
Let's see. Can you see my leaning tower of backlist? I've
Yeah.
got a whole bunch of books that are coming out all at once.
Oh, wow.
The I keep getting boxes of books and I'm out of space. So I started stacking them up in the corner. Yeah. Now there's a
So,
whole bunch
so
of
older
them.
books that have gotten like new covers, new publishers.
Yeah, I got all the rights back to my Taylor Jackson series. That was my first, that's where I started 20 years ago.
Mhm.
And I got the rights back and then I have moved since to Thomas and Mercer and I sold them all 9 books. So they've been coming out. We had 4 books come out right before my new book just came out last week, and then we've got 5 more coming starting in January. So all of a sudden, there's 9, 10 books in a very short period of time, and that's a lot of boxes of books. So I need to get some little free library stuff going on badly.
Well, that works. If you need to send, you can send some my way. We have a little free library in the front of our yard, so we have
Nice.
lots of books there and stuff. So, all right. Well, let's get started here. Tell us a little bit about yourself, all the important stuff people need to know about JT.
Okay, so I am a thriller author based here in Nashville, and I have always been a writer, but I didn't always want to be a writer. I didn't know that that was a path that was really open to me until later on. So I got a degree in politics and creative writing. And my thesis advisor, when I went to her and said I want to go to an MFA program, told me I was not good enough to get published. My other thesis advisor was making notes on my stories read too much like B grade detective fiction, aka I was a thriller writer, right? And in that world, that's not what they want, right? That's not the kind of work that they reward in the collegiate atmosphere, especially in the MFA programs. I think it's changed a little bit now, but it really back then was not. So I quit and I went to work with my other degree, and I went to George Washington University and got a master's in political management. Met my husband, who is from Nashville, which is how we've ended up back here. I worked in the White House. I worked for Lockheed Martin. I did a whole bunch of marketing stuff. And then we moved to Nashville and I couldn't find a job. I turned into a really bad country music song. I couldn't find a job. I didn't have any friends. I kept getting lost because there is a street called Old Hickory that's on all 4 sides of town and they don't connect. So I kept ending up in wrong parts of town trying to get home and it just was awful. And then my cat died. And that was the worst. She was 19. I mean, just it was really, really awful time. And so I finally found a job at the vet. We found a new kitten. She was sick. The vet who was healing her was looking for somebody to work there. And I'm like, okay, this is at least going to introduce me to people, right? I'll meet people that come to the front desk. They wanted me to be a vet tech. I was in the back. And if you've ever been in the back of a vet, it is not cool back there at all. And I knew immediately this wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
So I was going to give them a whole week and then quit on Friday. And on Wednesday, so 2 days in, I picked up a golden retriever and herniated a disc in my back. Had to have back surgery. And while I was recovering, I went to the library and I said, hey, do you have any B grade detective fiction? To which they said, have you read John Sanford? And I said, I have not.
Yeah.
And I was 3 books into the Prey series when I went, all right, this is what I want to do. And I'm going to do this. I have nothing to lose at this point. And my husband was like, do it, go for it. And Taylor Jackson was born on Interstate 40 as I was driving down to rehab on my back.
Wow. So do you ever hear from those
Well,
people that told you that you were not good enough?
one of them passed away. She was very,
Yeah.
really, but the other didn't get tenure. So
So, sometimes there's you create a
karma.
character, right?
Well, I mean, it's, don't discourage people, right? It just, and it was really, she was a beautiful poet, just a
Mhm.
beautiful poet. And I really respected her and I respected her work and I respected her opinion. And so I believed her. And I went a different path, but the path that I went on led me to my husband. I met him the
Right.
first night of class,
Sure.
right? So it was the
Yeah.
right thing. And we had a really fun time in school. And, I was working in the White House at the time, and then I was in the Department of Commerce. And so he got to, come and do all the fun things. And we had a really fun courtship before we got married and then moved to Nashville. That was 34 years ago Wednesday. We just had our anniversary.
Congratulations. Yes.
Thank you.
34 years. My wife and
It's
I
been
are
a
going to
big
be
week.
30 this year, or next
That's
year. Sorry.
awesome.
Yeah. Long time.
She's
I
very
wasn't sure I was
sweet. I
going to live that long.
enjoyed meeting her.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, we don't take any of that for granted, do we?
No. So I saw that you grew up and I'm quoting this from you, the wild and dirt roads of Colorado. So, and I live in
Yeah.
Colorado, not on the wild and dirt roads. I just live in Westminster here, but we have a few dirt roads around here. And then you moved to DC, and it sounded like it was a big culture shock for you.
Yes, yes, yes. That was incredibly difficult. Yeah, I grew up on a dirt road up in the foothills in Pike National Forest. There was 200 houses in like the entire geographical area of Larkspur, and we lived in Perry Park. So anybody who knows that area knows Perry Park. There were three of us in my kindergarten class, four of us in first and second grade, and at the end of second grade, they started busing kids down from Castle Rock. It was just very, very small and very insular, and there was nothing to do but play golf. And, obviously winter sports in Colorado, we skied and ice skated and did all the fun stuff. And then we golfed, and I was on swim team, and, all of those kinds of things. Hi, Chris. It was just really, really idyllic to grow up in such an isolated place, and it makes your imagination run free. And I love to read. My parents were big readers. We had a lot of books on the bookshelf, and the rule was if I was tall enough to reach the book, I could read the book. And I was really tall. So I was reading things I probably shouldn't when I was very, very young. I mean, I remember reading Roots and the Thornbirds the same year, and I was 8. So, I was a very precocious reader, and that certainly helps when you want to be a writer.
So so somehow, I'm not sure how you saw that Chris got on. That's interesting because I didn't
It
put the
popped up. Yeah, I've got a
it
I've got a
showed.
chat box on the left-hand side, and it popped
Oh, that
up.
must be something new they've added. Because yeah, usually I put it up on the screen. So yes, but yes, Chris, she was sitting at the table with us as well in
Yeah,
Nashville. So yeah,
we had a
so
good
hi,
time.
Chris. Yes. All right. So yes, the so lots of reading. So you were a big book, and I saw that you said Perry Mason was a god. So would you tell us a little about Perry Mason? So I'm assuming it's the books, not the TV show, but maybe you did
No,
both.
no, Perry Mason, the TV show, Perry Mason was God, not is
Yes,
a God. In
was
my
God. Yes,
mind, that's what God looked like. God looked
yeah,
like Perry Mason. He wore this great suit, he had dark hair, and he had this great voice. And when I prayed at night, I envisioned Perry Mason. I still do. I can't
yeah.
help it. I mean, it's just that it was such a seminal show. I think at that time, my family must have watched it. I have brothers who are much older than me. They're 9 and 11 years older. So whatever they were watching, I was watching. And that was a really popular show at the time. And I conflated him with God.
Raymond Burr,
Yeah, Raymond Burr is God.
and then he became Ironside later, and he was in
Yeah.
a wheelchair, right? So yeah.
I mean, was there a movie that he played in or something like, that was the era, the Charlton Heston era, was Raymond Burr in anything like that? I don't know. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah. So,
Kids
okay,
are
so you
weird.
worked at the White House and the Department of Commerce. So, what was it like working in the federal government? Did you like that, or did you find it was very difficult?
I loved it. I mean,
Yeah.
I loved it. I worked all over DC. I worked on the Hill. I worked in the White House. I interned during college. I interned all over the Hill and had two different White House internships. And then when I graduated, went to work in a third spot, and then moved over to Commerce and was the assistant to the Secretary of Commerce. And it was incredibly heady and fun. And I mean, DC is just, it's a different place. It took me a very long time to get comfortable with that world,
Yeah.
coming from the backwoods of Colorado, where you have to pack a lunch to go to the gas station. You know, it's a ways away. You got to be super careful, especially in weather, not to get caught out. To having a 7-Eleven in the backyard was really, really bad culture shock. All the kids I went to school with it was Langley High School, right next to Langley, the CIA. All the kids' parents were spies and senators, and Supreme Court justices. I mean, it just was a really different kind of world. And I was in sports, so that helped. That always was an opener with people, but it was very difficult, and it took me a very long time to finally start seeing the value of it. We were always not a political family, but a current events family, and current events were, even in Colorado, we were watching the McLaughlin Group and stuff like that. So
Sure.
so it was kind of a natural extension to want to study politics. I read The Charm School around that time, right as I was getting ready to go to school, to college, and my plan was to go into the Foreign Service. That was kind of my path. Probably get a law degree and join the Foreign Service. That was where I was headed before I got waylaid by the cute guy from Tennessee. Amazing
Well,
how quickly, I'm going to go live all over the world. Oh, guess what? Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm going to write about all over the world instead.
so do you
A
think
little safer.
if you ended up going and working overseas and stuff, do you think you still would have found your way to writing and maybe a world, or do you think your life would be totally different if you hadn't met your husband? You ever
I
thought?
love the sliding doors, right? I love those kinds of ideas. I actually did an anthology several years ago through my indie press called A Thousand Doors, where I had all these ideas of different lives that could have happened, right? And as the woman dies, she gets to experience all the lives that she could have had. And I recruited a bunch of my friends to come and write those lives. And it's just this really fun project. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't know. Everything that happens has made me the person that I am today. I wouldn't be the same person if I had done that. So I may not have ended up in this world. I don't know.
Yeah, it's always interesting how everything can change um, like that
Oh
in a
yeah.
minute. Just you find that person and your life just goes in that direction. So, but it's always fun. It's fun to imagine, but otherwise you're like, if my life is good, and you sound like you have a very good life, why
Yeah.
else would you think about anything else, right? Because it probably wouldn't be as good, right?
I mean, I'm very happy with my life, and
Yeah.
I'm happy, and obviously in my marriage, and all of that kind of stuff. But being a writer lets you examine all of those other things that could have happened. I mean, I wrote a cop series, right? That I wrote a medical examiner series. I wrote an international series with Catherine Coulter that's sort of James Bondy. That's the international part coming out. The book that I just finished has a lot of DC component to it. It's you get to go and do all the things that maybe wanted to experience and see. You try it on. You try it on for a year. Does it work? It's great. Let's keep going.
Yes, you get to live the life of your characters, which is always
Yes.
a lot of fun. So, yeah. Okay, so you got to tell us about your twin kittens.
So we, the cat that we adopted after my back, well, before my back, but when I was having the back surgery, she was Thriller Cat. So my Instagram handle and X handle is Thriller Chick. She was Thriller Cat. She was on every single manuscript for my first 17 books. And when she passed away, I just couldn't, right? I just could not. She was quite the muse. We had been looking for a cat, a kitten. It was time. It was 5 years later. It was time. And it was 3 years later. And we had several adoptions fall through. Nothing was just right. And I'm a universe believer. It's if there's a red light, if there's a sign, a stop sign, I listen to that. So we just never found the right thing, and I was going to go back to the shelter and be like, I don't care. Whoever comes up to me first, that's who's coming home with me. And a friend of mine called me that morning and said, "Hey, I know you're looking for silver mackerel tabbies. There's a new litter that just came into the shelter that it's now closed, but the no-kill shelter that we used to get cats from." And I went down to see this little cat, and there were sisters. And I called my husband and I'm like, I found a cat and I found a sister. He was like, "You're not bringing home two." I'm like, "I'm bringing home two and you're going to fall in love." And he did. He fell in love and they're fabulous. Unfortunately, one of them had issues and liked to eat things that she shouldn't have eaten and had to have stomach surgery a few times. And that shortened her life considerably. And she got cancer and she passed away when she was 9 years old. She's on the shelf right behind me in between my books. She's right there holding fort. She's the ghost kitten in my bio. So her sister is still going strong and is just absolutely adorable. And we miss her. We miss Jameson a lot. She was a really special cat. She gave me last scene. She gave me that book, the book from Killer Nashville. She gave me that book. I needed to write a proposal to get the attention, for a 2-book deal. I already had the first book laid out, but I needed something for the second book. And it was called Her Last Night. And she laid in my lap while I wrote the synopsis of that book. And then we had to put her down the next day. So she gave me that entire book.
So do you still feel her presence around
Oh,
at times?
100%. She's here. You will be sitting there. Jordan will be in my lap. Jordan and Jameson are their names. Jordan will be in my lap. Randy will be sitting here. We'll be reading, and we'll hear somebody come down the stairs. Boom, 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 boom. And it's like, or we'll see, I've seen more than once a little gray streak run past the office door and then realize that Jordan is laying in here. So Jamie came home with us, and that's the only reason I can even function because, they're my kids. It's like losing a child. I mean, it's hard. It's
Yeah,
hard. So she's the ghost kitten. She's the ghost kitten.
that's cool. I saw that on your website and I thought, well, I gotta ask about the ghost kitten. And has the ghost kitten made any appearances in any of your books?
No,
Other
but
than being
the Two Tails Press is my indie press, and if you look at the logo, it's the
right,
two ears for the two girls,
right.
and Jade, the little ghost cat godmother. Her ear is in shadow, and she's the ghost of Two Tails. So they're yeah. When I lose Jordan, I'm gonna have three ghost cats running around here. I hope they never leave. I
So usually, we have dogs, and I've had cats before too. But we have dogs these days. My wife is pretty allergic to cats, so we kind of get straight away from cats. But you
That's
generally
awful.
outlive them. Obviously, you go through several of them in your lifetime. Some
Yeah.
cats, like my wife, when she was growing up, she had a cat, and it lived, I think, 23 years. It was just a little itty bitty, little teeny thing. So. and they
Was this
live
in
about that.
Colorado? Because I had a
Yes.
sibling, I had a Siamese that was 25 when she passed away.
Oh
She
wow.
got me, I got her 3 days before my fifth birthday and still had her when I got married.
Wow.
It was my entire life. I mean, her name was Jezebel. She was the greatest cat. She was the greatest cat. Got her at the Dumb Friends League.
Yeah, well, and we love our rescues. I mean, we've
Yeah.
all of our pets have always been rescues and stuff. So we enjoy that, and always a lot of good homes. I always tell people, you need an animal, go to the
Yeah.
rescue, go to the pound, wherever, and especially after COVID, there were so many of them that
I
were
know. I
turned in by
know.
people who I don't know. I guess they got an animal to keep them company while they're at home, and then they didn't really like it. I don't know. There seemed like there were just so many of them that were available, but for whatever
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah.
So what do you do to decompress? What kind of hobbies do you have other than writing? I don't know if you find writing a way to decompress or not, but you sound like you were a very active person when you were young, and maybe
Yeah.
still.
Yeah. So I actually just got a knee replacement and I
Oh,
am now way more active. I had obviously aging athletes, the
yes.
joints start going. But I had a botched surgery and
Oh,
yeah, it was the third meniscus surgery on the right leg, and they screwed it up, and they had to go. Another doctor had to go back in, and said, he goes, I might get you 10 years out of this one. I made it 5, and then I finally got it replaced, and now I am getting back. I played golf last week for the first time, and I'm like, oh, thank God, this is awesome. So I like to play golf. We travel a lot. I love to travel. I love to go experience new cultures and go, all of the places that I write about in my books. Yeah, I like to set things in places that I want to go visit,
sure.
which is a lot of fun. And yeah,
You
I
can write off
swim.
those trips. It's a
Yeah.
business expense, right?
Yep. Swim, bike, just all the things.
Okay, so do you find writing therapeutic?
Sometimes
Yeah.
when I get into the zone and and you get in the flow and it's like, wow, okay, I end up someplace that I didn't expect. I'm not an outliner, so that happens a lot. I'll end up someplace where I've never in a million years thought I was going to go. And those are incredibly gratifying days. The last couple of weeks of a deadline, I mean, I'm sure I was very distracted Saturday night when we met because all I can think about is I have got to land the plane on this book. It was finished, but I needed to flesh out the whole back end, and that's all I was thinking about. That can be pretty stressful.
Yeah.
This is I've written a lot of books now, and I don't think it gets easier. I think it gets harder. You're holding yourself to a different standard every time. Your readers are holding you to a different standard every time. I want to operate at the highest possible level of my craft as I possibly can. I want to give a great story. I put a lot of pressure on myself. I
Mhm.
really do. So those last few weeks, yeah, those are not fun. But days like today, because I turned the book in Saturday, days like today where I've cleaned my office. I stacked up all the books. I've started the research stack for my next book and started a new file and things like that. Oh, I love it. And I love the revision process. I love editing what's already there because I forget about it. It's 120,000 words. I don't remember every
Sure.
word that's been put in there. And I love discovering things, be like, oh, I remember the day I wrote this. Oh my gosh. And it's so much fun at that point. So yeah, I use it as therapy a lot, certainly. You know, I think it's really good for that. I can explore all kinds of things that I need to work out.
That's good. I'm glad. So when you said you just turned it in, so has it gone through a few revisions before you turn it into, and you're turning it into your publisher, your editor,
Right.
or
I'm turning into my editor and my agent
yeah,
at the same time. Nobody's read it. My dad has read it, and he he said, it's fine, go for it. And my best friend read it and said, it's fine, go for it.
Mhm.
I do not feel it's fine. I think it's far from fine, but we'll see. But yeah, by the time I'm turning it in, I've done 4 or 5 drafts. I'm a very circular writer. I write forward and then I go back and then I fill in the blanks and then I write forward a little bit and then I go back and then I fill in the blanks. So it's a helix. My writing style is very helix.
Yeah, I saw you said you try to write about 1,000 words a day, but you always
Mhm.
start the day off by reading what you had written the day before.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that helps a lot.
I'm kind of similar. A lot of times
Yeah.
I'll do that. I'll kind of go back to what I had written the day before. I'm not as diligent about writing every day, but I write in big streaks as well. So, all right, so let's talk about a few of your books. Okay, so we had a lot of fun. So I'm gonna throw up a couple of pictures here from Killer Nashville. So we were sitting there and we got Tracy, and Tracy's been on the show before, and I've known Tracy for a few
Awesome.
years.
I love
And
Tracy.
she won best short story anthology, I believe it is. You won best suspense, and then you also best won best overall book of the year, which was I know you were shocked when Clay said,
That's an
"Oh my gosh,
understatement.
my neighbor, I'm never going to be able to live next to her anymore." I think he said, or something to that effect.
Yeah, that was. I mean, I had a 1 in 6 chance of winning best suspense, right?
Hmm.
You've got odds in your
Sure.
favor. Best novel, it just never even. I just didn't even think about that. It just wasn't on my radar at all, and I was very surprised by that, and very grateful. It just it's really funny because I had just gotten a really nasty gram about the book from somebody who hated it. And then
We
it
all get
wins
those.
best novel. And I'm like, well, I think I'm going to listen to the folks who said best novel instead of the woman who doesn't like it. It did. It did. I was floored. I was absolutely floored. And I still am. That gorgeous murder weapon is on the shelf behind me. And I wasn't kidding. You heard my acceptance speech. I made it very clear that the honor is in the nomination. The honor is in the nomination. And there's just always something really cool about being nominated among your peers for a book. And it just that's the win for me. So winning was super cool. That's just it's
Yeah.
just a cherry on top, right?
Yep. And then you were talking about the award, and I got to pick up the award, and I couldn't believe how heavy it was. It's a
It
good thing
is
you didn't have to go on
incredibly
a
heavy.
plane, so
Yeah, I walked out and they came out and they're like, "Do you want the box for that?" I'm like, "Yes, I would like the box for this." I'm like scared to death. I'm going to drop it in the
yeah,
parking lot. I put the seatbelt on it driving home because I was like, I don't want it to fall off. I mean, it's
that's
just
funny.
stunning. It was just a stunning, stunning piece of art that I mean, I'm just, Clay has put together something so cool with Killer Nashville and has created a family of writers who come back every year. And I try to come, it's on my anniversary all the time.
Right.
And, my anniversary is going to trump a conference. It always, but every
Sure.
once in a while, it doesn't fall on it and I'm able to come. And yeah, I was really, really glad that I came this year. I was very surprised.
So the winning book was Last Scene,
Last
right?
year.
Okay. So there's the cover. So give us a little bit about Last Scene, a little bit of the history of it and what it's about.
So, Last Scene is a story of Haley James, who is having the worst day of her life. She goes to work thinking she's going to get promoted and gets fired. Her husband, they are getting separated and they're supposed to be signing the paperwork. She's had to move into the basement of some friend's house. And then her father calls. She's home from being fired, shell shocked. And her dad calls and has fallen and broken his leg. And she's like, "That's it. I'm going home. I'm going to go home and take care of my dad." And when she gets there, he needs some insurance cards, and she's going through all of his stuff looking for the insurance cards and comes across an article that talks about her mother's death. She knows her mother died in a car accident. She and her sister were also in the car. Her sister also passed away, and Haley has a traumatic brain injury from that car accident. But the article says something different. It says that her mother was murdered, and her sister is the one who did it.
From there,
There you go. And from there, so it's really fun because it was written. I had a dream. I have a lot of dreams about stories, and I had a dream about this one. I dreamt about a town called Brockville, and I dreamt the entire plot of a story. And it's not this story. It is a different story that I'm going to write at a different time because it was a romance. And I called my agent the next day and I'm like, I've got to tell you about this. And I'm pitching the whole thing and she's getting quieter and quieter and quieter. And I'm like, that's not good.
not a bad.
I'm not good at pitching, but come on, this is really cool. And she says, did I tell you that I was in a town called Brockville last week?
Oh,
Like, no. So the night, and it was the night of my anniversary actually when I had this dream. And she was on that same day in a town in Canada called Brockville. She had dropped her phone in the lake. They were on vacation and she had to go get a new phone. And the closest place was a town called Brockville. So, the universe really gave me this story. It was just crazy. And then the night before Jameson passed, I had to come up with a story that would work with this town, this Stepford-esque town. And this is what I came up with.
and it came out last year, right? Obviously, you got good reviews. I see you got a little blurb here from Lisa Gardner, which is a big name author as well.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, she's fantastic.
yeah. So is that a one and done, or is there going to be more?
So these are standalones, but I
Mhm.
always need to what my film agent calls season two. She always says, but what is season two, JT?
Yeah.
What is season two? So I always leave a door or a
Mhm.
window, just a crack, in
Right.
case I need to return to a story. And it was actually my agent was or my editor was thinking I would continue on this story for the next book when I pitched her, you know why, and she was like, no, no, we're doing that one next, and that's the book that came out last week. But yeah, there are definitely elements of that of last scene that can be carried on into at least a second book.
All right. So the book that came out last week, you know why? So give us a little bit about that book. And
Filler cover, man.
you've been busy plugging it, so you probably have got this. You've got this spiel all. You've done it so many times, so you don't need a lot of practice anymore, right?
Oh, I'm telling you, it's only been out a week. I'm just still refining what I'm talking about, right? So You Know Why is a dual narrative story, and it is Brooklyn is one story. She is a former food photographer who used to be the principal photographer on a Anthony Bourdain-esque show, and she has been domesticated by suburbia. She's met a guy. They got married. They've got kids. And she's living outside of Nashville in a town called Franklin. And by all accounts, loves her life. Her husband comes to her and says, I have a surprise. I'm going to take you and the kids to Italy for Christmas. And we're leaving tomorrow. And I know how you like being spontaneous. And she's like, what? But she pulls it all together and she gets them and out they go. They have a connecting flight to Atlanta and they're in the international area in Atlanta when he disappears. He goes to the bathroom and doesn't come back. And then we meet the other half of the story, which is Eden. Eden is in the prologue, and we learn that her sister was murdered 10 years ago, and she is still determined to find the killer of her sister. She is flying home to Atlanta, and she is on a plane, and here's a couple arguing and recognizes the voice. and walks up the aisle and comes back down and sees her sister's murderer having an argument with his wife. And it takes off from there. And those two lives smash cut together in the international terminal.
So they never make it to Italy then,
I I could tell you, but then I would have to kill you.
huh? Yeah, you can't divulge too much. Yeah. So that's pretty wild. So then you've written 30 plus books through the years.
Yeah.
So I know you had mentioned the series that you had gotten back.
Taylor.
Um, so it was the Taylor Jackson one. So I kind of growled that from there. So these are all new covers, right?
The first four are, and I actually got to see the next five today, and they are phenomenal. Whiteout is a short story that bridges between Deadline and Wolves, and Field of Grays is a prequel, which is actually the first novel I ever wrote, but I didn't sell that one. I got an agent, and he took it out to all seven houses, because at the time there were seven houses, and all of them passed. They all had the same thing to say about it. And he came back and he said, "Well, write me another book." And yeah, I was devastated because I heard my thesis advisor, who said I wasn't good enough to get published, saying, "You're not good enough to get published, and here's why." But I knew I had something, and I knew that the character was really cool. And so I listened to their advice, and I changed the ending of Field of Graves. And I wrote All the Pretty Girls. And that was the first book that sold, and it sold in a 3-book deal for Pretty Girls, 14, and Judas. And that, that was a phone call. That was quite a phone call to get. And my agent said, they want to know if you can write 2 books a year. And I said, of course I can write 2 books a year. I had no idea if I could write 2 books a year, but I wasn't going to say
Not gonna say
no.
no. Yeah.
I'm not going to say no. And so I killed myself for a while and wrote 2 books a year. But it really, it taught me cadence. It taught me discipline. It taught me how to sit down and actually do the work, which if you want to have a career, you have to do. You have to do the work. And I very much wanted to have a career. So I'm really excited to be able to share the next covers because they're super cool.
So there's been 9 books in the series, right?
So there's 9 books in the series. The bridge, Whiteout, is that bridge short story
Right.
between the end of Deadline and the beginning of Wolves. And Wolves, I wrote 10 years after the series was over. My publisher didn't want any more Taylor books. They wanted me to do something different. They wanted me to spin the medical examiner from the Taylor books, Samantha Owens. They wanted me to spin her off and into her own series, which I did. And then I started writing with Catherine Coulter and wrote the Brit and the FBI books, and then was all the way back. I had written 3 or 4 standalones. So I'd written a whole bunch of books between Deadline and Wolves. So I wrote Whiteout as a part of an anthology with Alex Cava and Erica Spindler, where all of our characters are affected by the same winter storm. That's how the anthology was tied together. And then it just sat there. And it just sat there for so long. And the characters in Whiteout are so cool. I knew I wanted to do a story, and I knew I wanted to take Taylor in a slightly different direction. And I had always planned to take her in a slightly different direction. And I had some spare time. And so I wrote Wolves. And it was really hard coming back to a series after 10 years away. I had changed. I had changed as a person. I had changed as a writer. The city had changed. Police procedure had changed. We're on the back end of the all the protests, and cops weren't exactly de rigueur anymore. People really didn't like the police. They didn't want police procedurals. It just was a very, very different world to launch a Taylor book into. And I published it myself through my own press. So I see Chris has asked about that, and I'm happy to talk about it whenever you want. But I self-published Wolves, and I just my readers really wanted another Taylor story, and I live to serve the reader, right? Without the
Sure.
reader, I don't exist.
Right.
So if I'm getting emails all the time saying, when are you going to write another Taylor book? When are you going to write another Taylor book? Eventually I'm going to say, you know what, I'm writing another Taylor book. And so I was going to write it as another short story. And then as things happen, it took on a life of its own and became, a full-length novel. And so it is number 9 in the series. And then Field of Graves really was number 8. It published at number 8, but it's really number 0. So if that's confusing to anybody, it's confusing to me. We decided when we are publishing them now that Field is going to be last. So the prequel will be the last book that comes out. So you've got a nice circle again with the helix.
Yes. So you feel like you're, even though it's an old back catalog, that it's kind of all new now, being released and maybe exposed to people who haven't maybe
Yeah.
who've read some of your new stuff, but maybe haven't read the older stuff.
Who haven't read the older stuff, and a lot of them do like police procedural, which is great. And the other half of it is most of those books came out before Kindle was a thing.
Right.
So they're getting new life in a digital way that they didn't before. And, Amazon owns the email address of every person in the world. So they can send this out in a way that I could never on my own, and hadn't with HarperCollins, because that's who, I was with Mira. And they hadn't seen really, a lot of digital levers being pulled. So, they've had a book bub here or there, but there hasn't been, a price structure and strategy around them. So it's really fun to do this. And I know people love completed series. So it's a mostly completed series.
So then you had a spin-off, you said. So you said, was it the Samantha Owens one? This one
Yes,
here?
yes, that's it. And talk about what season 2, what lies behind is on a huge cliffhanger. And I apologize because my house decided they didn't want it. They didn't want the book. I was 25,000 words into it. And they decided they wanted me to write standalones instead. And we did a different contract for standalones. And I wrote Lie to Me, which was a breakout novel for me. So poor Sam has been literally dangling over a cliff since, forever. So I really do want to finish that out. I really want to finish that series because I've got 25,000 words of that book, but it's just finding the time, right? Time is short.
So there'll be maybe eventually a 5th book, then, is what you're saying in that?
I, I,
That
I
will close
really
it
want
out.
to, yeah, I really want to close it. I really want to close it out. Yeah, I do. And it'll be a Taylor and Sam. So it'll kind of, it can end both. It can kind of loop them both together.
Sure. Okay, so you're traditionally published, it sounds like, but you have a little bit of independent. You mentioned about Chris had asked the question a little bit about how that. So give us a little bit about the publishing world and what you deal with every day.
Sure. I think it's really important to have a plan B. You never know.
That's
You
right.
never know what's going to happen, right? You just never know. And I have had vagaries in my career. My career looks like an EKG, just like every long-standing career. You have big books and smaller books, and it goes like this. It's sine waves. I have a bunch of short stories, and I wanted to publish them. And so I started a press in 2012 in order to publish that. I had a really phenomenal assistant who we came real close to opening up and starting taking submissions and being a publishing house, a traditional publishing, independent publishing house. But I had to make a decision. Do I want to be a publisher or do I want to be a writer? And I want to be a writer.
Right.
So we did a couple of cool anthologies. I did Wolves. I also write fantasy under a pen name, Joss Walker, and I published all the Joss Walker books under Two Tales. And I love knowing how to publish a book. I think everybody should know how a book comes to market, how it gets from our fingers to your hands, right? And there's a lot of steps that happen. The traditional world is still focused a lot on the sales team, right? You're marketing to the sales team. The sales team is marketing to the bookstores and the accounts and all of that. Indie, you're going straight to the reader. You've cut all of the middlemen out, and that's a very powerful place to be. It's hard, and you have to be an entrepreneur, and you have to be willing to, have very tight margins. If I didn't have the traditional gig, I would have gone out of business many times over, because it's hard. It's really hard to be an indie author. I mean, I have mad respect for folks that are doing it as a full-time gig. I was doing it for fun just to learn how to do it. And in case, you just never know. You just never know. Because, wolves is a good example. Nobody wanted wolves. And so I knew my readers did. And so I got it out there for them. It's just, I'm a business person. I'm a marketing person. I understand how these things work. And I wanted to know how to run a publishing house in case I needed to,
Yeah. So your writing process, I think you kind of hinted at a little bit, but are you considered a pantser, or do you think yourself an outliner, or are you sitting somewhere in between?
I like the terms architect and gardener. So architects, obviously, you can't build a house without a blueprint. And they have detailed blueprints. They are absolutely AutoCADed into everything, and it's exact, and they know what they're doing going into it. They know how the house is going to look when they finish. I am a gardener. I go in the backyard with a bunch of seeds and some soil and some fertilizer, and I dig a hole and I put some seeds in it and I water it and fertilize it, and then we see what comes up. And I don't start a book until I have 40 scenes in my head, which writer math, if a scene is 2,000 words, you have 40 of them, you got 80,000 words of a book right there. So I don't allow myself to start actually writing until I have those 40 scenes laid out. And they can be simple. They can be Olivia's walking down the beach. They can be a line of dialogue. It can be the way a house looks. It can be, part of a dream, whatever it is. They don't have to be fleshed out. They just need to be there. When I have 40, then I know that I've got enough of a story to get going, and then I'll start writing. So I don't outline, and I don't blueprint. I garden.
So you said 40 scenes. So are you keeping those all 40 scenes up here, or do you have them written down somewhere?
Oh, I write them down.
Yeah.
I write them down. Yeah. Yeah.
I was going to be impressed if you could keep track of all that in your head.
I keep track of 120,000 words in my head. So 40 scenes is nothing. That's nothing.
So, yeah, that's great. So do you have any characters that you've based on real people in your years, all these books?
Usually, if it's a real person, they've won a character name at an auction.
Okay.
That's how I usually do that. I've had a couple of friends who are reporters, and I've written them in. But usually, so like why, for example, the Teresa Lee and Margot Thomas and Pat and Bob Gesson are all character names from people who won charity auctions. So I like that. I like, as a matter of fact, two of those benefited the Dolly Parton Imagination Library.
Yeah.
So it was very odd for Dolly to pass away on my release day,
Right.
when I have characters who benefited her library. I love that we had a connection like that. And I'm hopeful that the library, I think it's going to start being state funded. They were talking about that today, which would be really interesting. I hope it keeps its funding and keeps going, because it's incredible. When you have a kid, you sign up for the Imagination Library when they're a baby, and you get books until they're 5 years old. They get a book a month until you're 5 years old. It's brilliant. Brilliant.
I read somewhere where there are some states that were pulling the funding for her Imagination Library, which is pretty sad.
Yeah, it's really, really sad. She's a force of nature. We lost a good one.
Yeah. So what about, and I don't want to jinx you here, what about writer's block? You ever experienced writer's block? And if so, how did you overcome it?
Of course,
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah, all the
It's
time.
usually, yeah, all the time. It's usually my story telling me I'm going in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So if I've, I'm putting down 300 word days and I'm sitting in my chair for 6 hours and I'm getting 300 words, usually I've gone wrong somewhere. And so I will go back to the beginning and I'll start reading again. Maybe I'll take a day off, go to the pool, go play golf, something. But usually it's because I'm doing something that's not right for the story.
And have
But oh
you
yeah,
ever
I get
like
blocked all
thrown
the
away
time.
a whole bunch of stuff? Like you're at, like I know one of the authors I know, Carter Wilson recently. He threw away like 50,000 words. He had started a book, threw the whole thing away, and just started all over again.
I've had to do that a couple of times.
Yeah.
I had to do that with 14. I was 50,000 words in and the story just wasn't working. It was my sophomore novel. I was not going to not have a decent second effort.
Yeah.
The Her Dark Lies took 7 versions to get right. 7 versions of
Wow.
that book. Yeah. It just, and it wasn't 7 drafts, it was 7 versions. So,
So it
yeah.
takes a lot of diligence to stick with it and say, okay, this, or do you just do you get to a point where you just say this whole idea is bad and you just start with something different? But
I usually do have that moment on every single book.
Mhm.
And I will start calling out my friends, and they will say, "Oh, you're at 75,000 words, aren't you?"
They know the point, right?
Everybody knows the point where I have my all is lost moment, and they just are kind of like, "Oh God, here we go again." They definitely are. They know me too well, so I do. I lose faith in my work all the time. I mean, yeah, I'm a creative. I'm an artist. I believe in what I do, and I trust my subconscious a lot. But sometimes it leads me astray, and I get stuck. I just hate it, and I want to start over.
So we talked a little bit about places you've gone and inspiration. So you travel a lot. Do you use places you've traveled to, and you say, "Oh, this is a great setting for a book. I want to use this area."
All the time.
Yeah.
Scotland, Ireland,
Wow.
Italy. Oh yeah. I love I love going firsthand on my books. Where All the Dead Lies and takes place in a castle in Scotland, and I boy am I glad that I went on the trip because I had fall in Scotland wrong.
Oh,
I
really?
had it wrong. It was totally wrong. It's not what fall looked like. And I had to go back and redo all of the setting because I had it wrong. So research is really, really vital and really important. And you can Google Earth all you want, but there comes a time when you actually need to go, walk the streets. I've
Yeah.
set books in New York. I've set books, in obviously in Colorado. One of my main characters in the Samantha Owens series is from the Vale area. So he's from Dillon, actually.
Sure.
I mean, so it's I like to go to the places that I'm setting the books. Actually, tear me apart. A lot of that's set in Vale. My main character is a skier.
Sure.
So yeah, and then it gives me an excuse to come home.
That's right. Yeah. I was going to ask you, do you get back to Colorado occasionally? Do you still have relatives that live here at all?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
I still have family there, and
Yeah.
my parents sadly just sold the house because my dad's 92 and he couldn't handle haven't he. They're in Florida. They were snowbirding, so they're in Florida
Sure.
full time now. So they just sold the house, and it was horrible. The market was terrible, and
Yeah.
yeah, so that's been really really hard to not be going out every few months. I miss my big sky. I miss my mountains.
Well, it's been pretty smoky here the last few years with all the doggone fires. It's been
Yeah, all
so
the
freaking
fires.
dry,
Yeah, yeah.
unfortunately. I
That's
wish I
about
could
to
have taken
change,
some
I
of the
think.
weather, take some of the water from Nashville with us back home. So,
Oh my gosh, it was 100 degrees again today. It's just bleh.
All right. Well, we're about at an hour here, so I want to start wrapping up a little bit. I know you weren't too pushed on time, but I want to keep an eye. But I always ask this question of everybody on the show. The name of the show is Bringing Life to Characters. So, and you've had a lot of characters, 30 plus books. So, I mean, I don't know if you've ever counted up how many characters you've written through the years,
Oh my
some
God.
meaningful ones and the big ones and all. But so, what's your secret sauce to making those characters jump off the page and people love them or hate them?
I find out what the thing is that they would be willing to kill to keep somebody from finding out.
Oh wow, I haven't had anybody say that one before. That's a good one.
That's how all of my books are driven.
Yeah.
Yep. Because, if you think about it, we all have a secret that we don't want anyone to find out. Our characters do as well.
Yeah. So whatever they're willing to go to the mat
Oh,
for.
and I mean, sometimes you have to wrestle them down too.
Yeah.
They lie. They'll lie to you. They
Right.
will lie through their teeth like a person. I mean, their characters are just amalgamations of people that we've come across and imagined. And, I don't base it on real people unless obviously it's a character name, but, we can't help our life experience. We've come across people that give us, vibes and they're very easy to amalgamate.
So like your ghost cat, do you sometimes feel like the characters are in the room with you when you're writing them at all?
They, yes and no. I mean, they become your friends or your enemies, and everyone you create is a little bit of you. So, sure, I would think that they're not like looking over my shoulder saying, I would never say that. But, if I'm writing at that point, I should know them well enough to know what they would say and what they wouldn't say. I end up changing character names a lot. Names are really, really important to me. And it can be, Her Dark Lies, I said 7 versions. I had the wrong character name.
Yeah.
I finally landed on her name. Her name was Claire. Her name needed to be Claire. And I had her as a completely different name, which would have made her a completely different personality. So that was super important to get right. So character names are everything to me. If I don't have the name right, the character doesn't come to life at all.
Do you remember what that original name was?
Logan.
Logan. That's the big difference.
A Logan and a Claire are very different women.
Yeah. Very different names. Yes.
Very different women. It's a round hole in a square peg. I mean, it just yeah. I need to write a Logan. I haven't written a Logan, and I will, but
Yeah.
her name had to be Claire.
So is there a genre or a book that you want to write that you haven't written yet? That's maybe some a little bit different than what you've written before. I know you said you had one that you have under a different pen name.
Right. And so that is kind of romantic fantasy. It's not romantasy. The romance isn't the primary driver. The story is it's a CIA librarian who she's just a regular girl. Jane Thorne is her name. Jane Thorne, CIA librarian. She is an archivist at the Vanderbilt Library who touches a grimoire and is catapulted into another realm. So it's portal world, portal magic. I would like to write an epic fantasy, like a real epic fantasy, like the entire world is made up and you've built the entire world.
Right.
I think that would be really fun. And I want to write a romance. I mean, I've got plenty. I've got a lot. Hopefully, I've got a few years ahead of me that I can get some of these stories out. I've just got a lot of stories I want to tell in a lot of different ways.
Do you feel like you have enough time in the day to get through all these things sometimes? It's just like,
No,
yeah.
not enough time in the day, not enough time in the life. There's not enough time. I will never, I got really depressed a couple of weeks ago realizing I am never going to read all the books that I want to read. I don't have time. I don't have enough time in this world to read all the books that I want to read. Oh, I mean, that was an arrow to the soul, right? So I certainly don't have enough time to write all the books that I want to write. So I'm, do the best I can.
I know I've had people tell me too. They sit there and say, "I wish you could put out books faster." I don't know if you have people that tell, "I wish
Oh,
I'm
sure.
always waiting for that next book," and I'm like, "Well, if I didn't sleep, I suppose I could write more, but I kind of need to sleep, so and I want to get them right also. That's the other
Yeah.
thing too. I could put out any kind of junk right
Sure, sure.
away.
I could just plug in my story idea to AI and vomit it out in 2 weeks, and here you go. But that is not
No,
my path.
no,
I like being a writer too much. I don't get that, right? I mean, I am totally fine using it for spell check, but not for writing. That's
no.
the fun part.
No, the AI stuff is always very frustrating, and
Yeah.
I've even put out a couple of newsletters that I will never use AI to ever write. It's always my ideas. Yeah, I use spell checker sometimes, grammar check, but it,
Yeah.
it's wrong a lot of times too. So that's why you have an
Yes,
editor
it
and you
is.
have other
Oh,
things to
I
help you.
mean, my gosh, just from Scrivener to Word, they have completely different punctuation
Oh
in
yeah,
their spell checks. And I'm
yeah,
like, well, which is it? And
right.
then my poor copy editors are like, do we not teach you this every time? I'm like, I forget. Word changes things and Scrivener changes things
Yes,
and Grammarly changes things. And it's like, and you change things. I mean, the CMS changes every 5 minutes.
right.
It's like, I'm not putting periods in FBI. I'm not doing it. No. I'm not lowercasing Army when I'm talking about the US Army. I'm
Yeah,
not doing that.
right.
Yeah, it's silly stuff.
So, what advice do you give to any aspiring authors out there who might want to get into this crazy business?
So I'm glad you asked me that because
Yeah.
my advice has always been read. Read everything you can get your hands on, read in your genre, read out of your genre, read things that you think that you would never like. Listen to audiobooks because you're going to hear things in a different way than you visually read them. But I'm amending to add, don't use AI to write your books. I
Please
fear
don't.
that this is going to be ubiquitous. I mean, AI already is ubiquitous. There's
Yeah.
no escaping it. I just encourage people to know what it is and not to use it to generate the text that is your book. I just think that there's no point in being a writer if you're going to use AI to write books.
Reed Farrell Coleman has been on my show, and I've talked to Reed a few times and stuff, but he talked about AI once, and he says the biggest thing for him about AI is AI has no soul.
No,
It has no emotions, whereas a writer, an author, you're putting your heart, your blood, your sweat, your emotions into your stories, into your characters, and AI can't do that, at least yet. Maybe someday it will, I don't know, but I hope
well,
not.
the worst thing is it took my work. 28 of my books are in the Claude settlement.
Yeah,
28.
I'm not
So it
surprised.
took my work to train itself.
Right.
So, you know, no, it doesn't have a soul. It doesn't. And that is, if you read Sumant Kidd's book on creativity, that is soulful writing. And that's something that Claude can do a lot of things, but that is not going to happen. And it's always going to fall flat because of it. It's always going to fall flat.
So Benny, who was sitting at the table with us as well, he had a
Hey,
question.
Benny.
Who's lost the desire for writing? And Benny and I were talking a little bit about that at the table the other night.
Okay, so this is the moment when you do Julia Cameron's The Artist Way. I'm sure you've heard of the book. If you haven't heard of the book, I'm going to change your life. If you can't do the artist way unless you have completely hit rock bottom creatively, right? It has to be the moment when you're like, I don't know that I want to do this anymore. Why am I doing this? I hit that moment and people have been like, you need to do the artist way. You need to do the artist way. It's the greatest thing ever. And I tried to do it and I'm like, what is this? I don't need this because I was flying high. And then there was a moment when I was not flying high and I was trying to decide if this is what I wanted to do with my life. And I did the artist way and I did the whole thing. It is a commitment. It's 16 weeks of thinking and working through and doing some self-therapy and being very honest with yourself in a notebook, answering questions about it. And I swear you will get to the other side and you will know whether you want to keep going or not. It will answer the question for you.
Good advice.
Yeah. Because, yeah, I mean, there comes a time where it's like, all right, is this what I want to do? I'm banging my head against a wall. Why? You know, and you've got to decide, is it your creative spirit that you're nourishing, or are you trying to make money? There's a
Well,
big
and I've
difference.
often told people too that come to me all the time and says, do it because you have a passion for it. Don't do it because you think you're going to make a lot of money at it. Because a lot of people don't make a lot of money. It's a very small percentage that actually make a big time living at it too. So keep
Yeah.
the passion. If you don't have the passion for it, then you're right. You're beating your head against the wall.
You're beating your head against the wall, and then that's no fun. And nobody can create wonderful books out of that environment.
Yeah.
But the artist way helps you reclaim the creative spirit. It works. It really works.
So, any marketing tips you want to share with anyone getting out there trying to sell your books?
So I I taught a class on social media with a social media maven friend, and I said we have to have the entry where we allow people not to use social media to market their books. And she said, no, we're not allowed to do that. And I'm like, yes, we are. I firmly believe if you don't want to do social media and you want to write books, write the book they can't ignore, and you don't have to worry about the social media. This whole business, if you have to have 250,000 followers and you have to have a platform, no, you write a book that knocks their socks off. Nobody cares about your Instagram following. They want you writing great books. There isn't a publisher on the planet who is saying, I would like you to spend 4 hours a day on Instagram. That's just not the case. We take this on ourselves because we want to market our books. We want our books to be successful. We see other people having success on social media, and so we jump on that trying to recreate it. But the honest to God truth is, unless you've written a book that other people are going to talk about, it doesn't matter. You can't sell your own books on social media. You can keep yourself top of mind, but that is not necessarily the end all be all. I think spending more time on your craft and putting together a story that is just stellar and is going to really grab people's attention is the path. That is the path. And then, if you do want to do social media, pick one thing and do it well. Don't carpet bomb. I carpet bomb. Don't do what I do. I don't like being a carpet bomber. I'm working on that.
Yeah.
I've got my Substack. That's where I really put a lot of effort into my Substack, into my newsletter. I've been building a newsletter for 22 years. And since before I had a deal, I had a few email addresses that I was cultivating. And that newsletter is everything. That is my window into my readers. And that's super important to me. So definitely start an author newsletter. And, be cool. Be cool online.
Wow, it sounds like it's raining outside. Oh my gosh, rain. Real rain. We could
Congratulations.
certainly use
Real
it.
rain.
Yeah,
I've brought you rain. There you go. You asked for some
thank you.
Nashville, and I sprinkled a little magic, and there you go.
So, what events do you have upcoming here? We'll kind of wrap up. I know you're doing a virtual tour right now for promoting the book.
There's yeah, there's a verse I just say about carpet bombing.
Yes.
There is a carpet bombing virtual tour going on right now. My publicist is amazing. I've worked with her for several books, and she's awesome. And she sets up this amazing tour. Again, I can't sell my own book, but other people can. And so she gets the books to the readers, and they either do a giveaway or they do a review. There've been a lot of reviews, a lot more reviews than normal, which is great.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing that. I've got in-person stuff. I had my launch last week, but then I also had the book due. So last week was kind of a quiet launch week, and then this week I've been shot out of a cannon. So I've got 6 more events between now and Friday. And then
Any other
then that's
author
week two, and then there goes week three.
Yeah. And any other author events? I know you said Killer Nashville. You try to do
Oh,
when
you
you.
mean conferences?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be in
Well,
Calgary at BoucherCon.
you're gonna go to BoucherCon. Okay,
Yep,
great.
and Southern Festival of Books. I will be a featured author at Southern Festival of Books this year, which is really nice because it's my local conference and literary festival. It's a lit fest, and I don't always go because I tape a lot of episodes of A Word on Words when we are there, and sometimes it's really hard to be an author and be present as well as being an interviewer and interviewing authors who are there. So, yep, lots to come.
Okay, so where's the best place? This is your website.
Yep,
It's the
that
best
is
place for people to find you, get information about you and your books, your
yep,
newsletter. You have a
all of
blog.
the above. Yep, links out to everything, links to my newsletter, links to Substack, links to all the books, and that's where you can get all the information.
And there's links in there also to be able to get signed copies. Well, I think I
Yes.
saw.
Yes, Poison Pen and Parnassus Books both have signed copies, and I will be out. I'll be at Poison Pen November 12th, so I'll sign some more stock while I'm there.
And so the re-releases, are they going to be coming out in paperback as well with the new covers?
Yes, yes, they start again in January with The Immortals. Will be the first one up, and there'll be two in January, two in February, and one in March.
Great.
Super excited. I can't wait to have them
Yeah.
back out in one beautiful package. It's really I love those books, so it makes me real happy.
Yeah, so it's like releasing them all over again, right?
Yeah, it is. It's 20 years later. Here we are. It's very cool.
Okay, so we've gone more than an hour. So
Yeah.
anything else you want to cover? Wait a minute, I'm
I'm
hitting
sure
the
people
wrong
are
stuff
sick
here.
to death of hearing me talk at this point.
Oh, I doubt that. We enjoyed talking. I enjoyed sitting. I didn't get a chance to talk with you too much, but it gets really loud in there, even with
Yeah,
the
it,
event and everything, when dinner is served and all that. But it was nice to get to sit
it
next.
was.
I knew Tracy, I knew Benny, and obviously I knew my
And you
wife,
were
and I knew
nominated
Chris.
yourself. So again, the honor
Yes.
is in the nomination. We had a
Yeah.
really amazing table full of
Yeah.
talent. It was very cool.
Yes, we did. It was quite lucky, and then we had a couple of agents there as well. So
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
left
that never
early though.
hurts. They bailed, didn't they? They were
They
like,
usually
"We
do.
are gone."
Yeah.
Yeah, they were done and out. I didn't blame them. That was a long night, but it was well worth it. I was thrilled to be there.
Well, great, JT. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being on the show. Good luck with the new release and
Thank you.
the next
Thank
book
you.
and the next book and the next. Sounds like you got quite a few in the pipeline ready to go. And
That's what I'm working on.
yeah, and we'll hopefully maybe we'll get to see you again next year.
That would
And
be great. I would
yeah,
love that.
well, I'm hoping to get. I was only able to come to the award show this year, but I'm hoping I get to do the whole conference next year. We'll see. It gets
Yep.
expensive, so got to
Oh yeah.
fly, and you can just drive down the road, right?
That does help a lot. That does help a
Yeah.
lot.
All right. Well, great. Well, thank you so much. Take care, and we will see you down the road.
All right. Sounds great. You take care.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate JT being on. My book comes out. New book comes out next week as well. Justice for the Accused as well. So I hope everyone will start doing. I'll start plugging that a lot. The marketing stuff. My next guest will be next week on the 9th. I'm going to have Ellison McBain at 6 p.m. Mountain Time as well. And then I'm off to an event in Loveland. Get to do a car show, which I have a lot of fun at because I love old cars. So thanks, everyone. We will see you next week.